Welcome to the 16 human error modes and the 6 mistake-proofing principles session. The first part of this session will review the 16 human error modes. In the second part, we will then discuss 6 mistake-proofing principles you can apply to prevent these mistakes, or at least prevent these mistakes from becoming defects in your organization's processes. Okay, let's get started. There are 2 types of thinking organizations adopt. Some organizations believe that people make mistakes, and there is not much one can do about it. Maybe more training or disciplinary actions will help. Other organizations believe that human errors can be eliminated. We may not be clever enough to find a way to do that, or we may not find a cost-efficient way to do that, but all human errors can be eliminated if we are designing our processes, products, and services with human errors in mind. When error-proofing activities, we first need to understand the difference between a mistake and a defect. Dr. Shigeo Shingo, one of the key developers of lean management, once said, "The causes of defects lie in worker mistakes, and defects are the result of neglecting those mistakes. It follows that mistakes will not turn into defects if they are discovered and eliminated beforehand." He later said, "Defects arise because errors are made. The two have a cause and effect relationship. Yet errors will not turn into defects if feedback and action take place at the error stage." So, what did he mean by that? Sometimes we are not able to prevent a person from making a mistake. For example, let us assume a person is writing an email but forgets to attach a report to that email. We may not be able to prevent that person from pushing the send button. However, we can implement a little program that checks the email for the words attach or attachment, and if it finds that word in the email, but no actual attachment, a pop-up window notifies the person of a possible mistake. Do you really want to send this email? You are mentioning attachment in your email, but there is no attachment included. Human errors are not the problem. The problem is the result of a human error that was not prevented or detected in time. So, while we often talk about mistake-proofing, we really mean mistake detection before the mistake turns into a defect. There are 16 different types of human errors. The 16 human error modes go back to research done many years ago. Some folks investigated over 4,500 specific human errors and tried to categorize them into distinct categories. The result of that work is the 16 types of human errors you can see here. The error types 1 to 8 can happen in any type of process, manufacturing, service, or transactional. Error types 9 to 16 are maybe a little bit more related to manufacturing or assembly type of processes. Let's have a look at these 16 different error modes. Let's talk through the 16 human error modes one by one. Number 1, omission. Means that a person could forget or omit a task or activity and that could lead to a problem. Excessive or insufficient repetition would for example mean that a person drills 5 holes instead of 4 or 6 holes. Wrong order or wrong sequence means for example that a person locks the car doors before removing the key from the ignition lock. Number 4, early or late execution could mean that material is ordered 2 days before it is needed, but the delivery time is 4 days. So, the material will not arrive in time. The 5th error mode, execution of restricted work, usually means that a task could be executed by unauthorized or untrained personnel, leading for example to safety issues. Number 6 would be incorrect selection or identification. This includes picking the wrong part number because the 2 part numbers are very similar, or the parts look very much the same. Incorrect counting or incorrect calculating could lead to overbooked flights or material shortages. Number 8, misrecognition or misunderstanding or misreading could be reading 52, but later remembering 25. Error mode 9 would be the failure to sense danger. For example, touching live wires could result in an electric shock. The error modes 10 to 13 are more manufacturing or assembly-related type of mistakes, including incorrect holding of a part, incorrect orientation, incorrect positioning, and incorrect motion. The last three error modes would be improper holding, inaccurate motion, and insufficient avoidance. Now the question is, what can we do to prevent these 16 human error modes in an organization's activities and processes, or at least detect them so that they do not result in major defects? Here are the 6 mistake-proofing principles a team can use to develop solutions or countermeasures for problems caused by one or several of the 16 human error modes. The first mistake-proofing principle is the principle of elimination. This principle seeks to eliminate an error-prone process step by redesigning the product or process so that the task or part is no longer necessary. An example would be switching off the light in an office. Some organizations have the rule that the last person leaving the office turns off the light. Unfortunately, sometimes in the morning, they recognize that that person forgot to turn off the light. The human error mode would be an omission. So, the light was on all night, and they spent a lot of money on electricity. A way to apply the principle of elimination would be to install a motion sensor. Whenever there is no motion for 15 minutes, the light shuts off automatically. The motion sensor may eliminate the process step of turning off the light manually. Principle 2 is called prevention. Prevention modifies the product or process so that it is impossible to make a mistake or that the mistake becomes a defect. The reason why most manholes are round is because a rectangle manhole cover can fall into the manhole. The mistake of someone dropping the cover is difficult to prevent. However, by redesigning the product, in this case, the manhole cover, the mistake of someone dropping the cover cannot turn into a defect, meaning the cover cannot fall into the manhole. The third mistake-proofing principle is replacement. Here we replace or substitute the existing process with a more reliable process. This principle often includes some automation and can be quite expensive. An example would be the installation of a coin dispenser in a grocery store that replaces the manual process of counting and returning the correct change to a customer. The fourth principle is facilitation. This is very likely the most widely used mistake-proofing principle. Facilitation includes visual management techniques like color coding, marking, and labeling, or checklists like they are used by pilots for flight preparation. The fifth principle would be detection. This is another widely applied mistake-proofing principle. Detection methods focus on detecting that a human error was made, and preventing the error from becoming a defect or at least minimizing the effect of the defect. An example would be to implement a weld counter to ensure that the correct number of welds is performed. Another example would be a software modification that checks data entries prior to saving, to minimize the risk of missing or incorrect entries. The sixth and last principle is mitigation. This principle seeks to minimize the effects of the mistakes. It includes mechanisms that reduce the impact of an error and defect. Examples include the use of redundant systems on an airplane, or an uninterruptible power supply to protect against a power outage. I hope you enjoyed this Operational Excellence 101 session and found it helpful. Our Operational Excellence Academy provides organizations like yours with excellent training material, e-learning courses, and high-quality online courses. Please visit our website for more information.